Good morning everyone. I'm Richard Horner and I'm going to have a series of talks and tips about bowls. Here we are at the end of the year and a lot of people will be thinking, how can I get fit? How can I meet people? And bowls is the answer for you, particularly for the older person, because bowls is a game you can play right up until you're in the 90s. I belong to a club and there's a 93-year-old bowling there very well. He's not the worst player by a long way down there. You can also start bowls when you're young, and a lot of young people play very competitively. It's an excellent game for mixing, and if you're on your own, you can go down there. They're a safe environment, and the club we have is a small one, very compact, and everybody's very friendly, and it's you can play in mixed, you play on an equal basis. There's no, here's a bowl, there's no such thing as a ladies bowl and a man's bowl. You bowl the same range of bowls, you play the same rules, and you play against each other. It's wonderful. Where do I come in? Well, I've been bowling a long time, 50 years. I started in Sussex, and I moved to Essex, and now I'm in Suffolk. No, can't go any further. I'll be in the sea. When I started, like you, if you're a beginner or an early bowler, you wondered about how to do things, how to improve, how to correct faults. And I read a book by David Bryant, who was a master of bowls, and he theorised, and I love to theorise about bowls. How you bowl, what's the best way of delivering your bowl so it's smooth and it ends up near the jack. More about that later. So another thing I did, I went to the first bowls professional, somebody called Roy Downing in Worthing, Sussex. And I tried to improve myself, and he gave me some tips. I used to, when I first started bowling, first year or so, I looked down on the ground because I was looking at marker on the ground, but he taught me be more upright and bend your knees so you're looking down the line where you're bowling. It's most important. You have to look down where you're bowling. You can't look straight down on the ground. So that's the background. So what am I going to talk about? In the early sessions, I'm going to talk about new bowlers and go through the basic techniques of how to grip the bowl, how to deliver the bowl, where you deliver it, what line, how you adjust for the length of the bowl, what are the basic rules of how you score, how you deliver off the bowl's mat, and then I move on to where you can do this, and how about joining clubs, and what sorts of games they have on offer, and what the differences are about the clubs. What's the difference between indoor bowls and outdoor bowls, for example? Indoor, you can bowl more or less all year round. Summer is restricted because of our weather. They're different games really, essentially the same rules, but they're vastly different. When you get more experienced, you still have room to learn and tamper with your technique, adjust your technique, because sometimes you start wobbling your bowl, you start dropping your bowl. You need to come back and get some refreshers and work out the basics and where you're going wrong. So I'll cover all these things, and eventually I'll move on to something like tactics. When you get old, if you're playing in a competition, what should you do? How should you approach the game? Because I've played a lot of competitions in my life, and I think preparation and other things like that are very important. So the first session I'm going to do here, and just go through the basics of how you hold your bowl. The next one and the subsequent ones I'm going to do in my garage. It's just big enough that I can show you how to deliver, how the bowl curves, and how you do your aiming. And then I move tactics. Of course, I'll eventually do a whiteboard, as you do lots of players in sports. They show you tactics on a board and where you bowl your bowl. So that's what I'm going to do. first of all, bowls and the grip. So there's the bowl, it's quite heavy, and this is an average size bowl. It's a black one. Nowadays, a lot of the bowls are coloured, and I do have a coloured set. And on the next one, I'm going down the club this morning. I've got a nice red set. I'll show you those. This is a size 3, and there are basically 2 ways of holding it. There's the cradle grip, where the bowl sits in your palm of your hand, and you hold the bowl sideways like that. That's quite good if your hand is small, if you're quite older, because it's easier to hold. And in wet conditions, it's quite good because the bowl can get slippery when you're outdoors, and it doesn't slip out your hands so much that way. So that's got a lot going for it. Myself, I like the claw grip, where the finger and the thumb are opposite. So that's a cradle. The claw grip is more like that. I like it because I get a touch feel on the ends of my fingers, and it's more sensitive to that, and I feel it's going to go down the line better. But that's a personal choice. You can do either of those things. One thing you have to do, whichever method you choose, your longest finger, that's my 3rd finger there, has to be on the top part of the surface. Now, the bowl surface is not exactly spherical, it's an ellipse, so it's designed that way, so as it rolls it will curve, and our game has to curve around that. It's a bit like curling if you watch that, but those people spin those curls, and as it slows down it starts to curl around like this. Bowls do the same thing, but the bowls are biased, so they curl like that. Because of that, your finger has to be on the top of the surface, not necessarily in the middle, but where the surface is the highest, because that's the last part of your hand that leaves the bowl as it sets off down the rink. So the finger has to be there. If I turn it round that way, you can then go claw or a cradle or claw grip. And that way, when you release the bowl, it will come off the last finger there, and if you do it other ways, like if you do it like that way, it'll come out, and I always call it like a pineapple delivery, because it goes wobble, wobble, wobble. Smooth, that's what you need. So finger on the highest point. Eventually, you just pick the bowl up and go like that. But in the early days, you might want to just check that it is on the middle like that. So that's the basic grip. And as I say, I do that grip, other people that way. There are top people do both grips. Catherine Rednall, the best women player in the world, she prefers the grip like this, and she's brilliant. But I think David Bryant or something, he used to have the claw grip like that. So the choice is yours. As regards the other things, we will cover those because it needs me to demonstrate how you bend down on the mat, how low you get, where your eyes should be looking, and if you want to adjust your length, you stride more and you shorten. Lots of things like that. It's going to be easier to show me in action. Here I'm just sitting in front of a nice drinks cabinet, which I shall partake of later, as it's to celebrate the end of the new year, end of this year and the new year. So before I go, please, if there's any questions you've got, any problems you have, please put a comment in and I will answer that in a future episode. And the other thing is, please subscribe. This is my first one of what I hope will be a successful series. So if you can subscribe, then we'll be able to help each other to develop this bowls channel. So it all just remains for me. Well, the next session, I'll say that, next session will be on bowls delivery, and in combination with the grip, the two things are the grip and the delivery. If you have those two things together, your bowl will go the right way, and then it's just experience after that, the number of times you do it. But that's what I should be doing next. And my wife is doing the camera. She'll be following me around when we go into the garage next time. So
I'll try.
so Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
My next one will likely be early in the new year. Oh, one more thing. I'm playing a bowl singles down our club in a little while. I'll tell you how I got on, and I might feed back. I'll say, well, I did this wrong, I did this right, and who knows. So goodbye to you all. See you soon. Thank you.